On this episode of Fish's Call Sheet, we have lead set decorator and interior designer Kevin Grace joining us. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hello, and thank you. I am so excited to be here.
As we've kind of mentioned to each other leading up to this, kind of a jack of all trades. So am I. We've done a lot of different things. I guess we should start with what your kind of official title is at the current time.
All right. So right now, I am sort of the lead set decorator and one of the heads of the art department at the Kelly Clarkson Show here at Universal, NBC. We have just started our second season. We were freshmen last year, and we were very well received, so that's great. We won some Emmys, and I myself won an Emmy last year, so I am now an Emmy winner.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I did not see it coming. It came out of nowhere. I was floored that we were even nominated as a freshman TV show. And there's a lot of hardworking people out there doing what I'm doing. So I was really surprised that we got nominated. And then when we won, I actually thought that people were joking when they started calling me. I was like, wait, really? We won? Because, it's a crazy time. It's 2020. It wasn't like we were at the Emmy Awards show and, we were in a tuxedos and everything. I was just sitting in my yard drinking some sort of a glass of wine or something. I was having something to drink, I'm sure.
People submit and the nominations kind of come and you're not really anticipating that, right? And then all of a sudden, right. There's so many great people. Then all of a sudden you're nominated, right? And then I think it's natural for most people to be like, wow, that's a good achievement. But, you go on with your work, right?
Exactly. Just being nominated, like I said, we were blown out of the water because we were so new and we were such babies. And we hadn't even finished our first season. Everything sort of shut down mid-March and we hadn't even finished our first season. And so, to be acknowledged like that is just super cool. I'm just blessed.
I've been in the nominated category, but what's it like to win? What is that like? Tell me what it's like to have that reaction.
Okay. So, of course, I was like, dang, man, like this is the year that there's no actual ceremony. Like, how cool would that have been? But I also chalk it up as, it's fine. The next time I'm nominated next year and win, it'll be a whole different story. It's crazy. I haven't actually even gotten the statue yet. I get it, I think, next week it finally comes. I don't know why it takes so long, but apparently it does. So heads up to anybody who is thinking that it just shows up. It doesn't. It takes a while, months, in fact. Honestly, but Michael, I think I won't really feel it till I have it.
Yeah.
Like, inside my head, I know it. And I have a lot of friends and coworkers that like to sort of give me some crap about, all right, well, you're an Emmy winner now. So, of course, you think you know everything. And sometimes I do. But I think that once I actually have that statue, that's when I'll be able to really feel like it's happened. But it's cool. I will just say it's cool.
On the production design side, I built a bunch of the sets and put together a bunch of things for a sports show one time when we got nominated for a sports Emmy. And, all the years working in front of the camera and the high profile stuff I did, it's such a weird feeling to get nominated. The idea when you win is like, it's got to be electric, but I'm with you. Until it's in your hand, until it's there, there's a there, but it's right. It's different when it's yours, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
But you know that I have a place for it. Like, that's the one thing everyone asks you, like, where are you going to put it? Where are you going to put it? And I was like, I know exactly where it's going to go. I don't want it to be like front and center because I don't want to be that guy, but I want it to be somewhere in my house where, like, as you're walking to use the restroom, you may pass by a room where it's sitting. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like it's there, but it's just not in your face, but you'll know it's there.
Well, you earn your way here. Let's get into that. How did this journey begin for you? What brought you to this business?
It was never a plan. It was sort of an accident. I worked in fashion for like 25 years and traveled all over the country, worked for some really great global brands. And I kind of got burnt out. Sometime like right after I turned 40, I just got burnt out. I kind of had reached my peak career-wise, and I was traveling all the time and I wanted to try something new. And, a friend of mine said, you've always been doing interior design for people for free. Why don't you go back to school and become an interior designer? I was like, oh man, I'm too old to go back to school. I don't want to go back to school. Like, that's crazy. How else can I do this without going back to school? And then that same friend suggested that, maybe it would make sense if I went on like a reality TV show and built a brand that way. And I was like, that is the craziest thing ever. It could maybe work. And I went and applied for a reality competition show on HGTV called Design Star. Lo and behold, I didn't think I would get it because I didn't have any sort of formal training or background or worked for a big company. And that's, of course, what they asked to bring to the table. And I was like, I don't have any of this. But I got booked. I got booked on the show. Went to Brooklyn for 5 weeks and filmed this reality show. And I ended up doing pretty good on it. Came back to Chicago and sort of launched this design business, which at the same time the show was launching. And so I was getting sort of local recognition and people were calling and I was getting all these. And by the way, I didn't have a portfolio or a website. So I started taking jobs for free in the beginning. I just needed to build a portfolio and build something that could be on a website. So I just, people were calling and asking, and I was like, yeah, actually, I'll do it for free. If you've got a decent budget, let's do something fun. And that's kind of just how I started. That sort of led to me getting gigs on local TV to do like design segments on morning shows. And oddly enough, over the course of like 1.5 to 2 years, I worked my way over to the Steve Harvey show, which was being filmed in Chicago, and they were building an art team. They thought that I would be a good fit for their art team, as well as possibly doing some on-air camera stuff on the show. Lo and behold, season 3, I jumped on Steve's show, and Steve Harvey and I connected and sort of built a great working relationship. I stayed on with him for 2 more seasons in Chicago. And then when he was, and he started using me on his show for design segments and stuff, which was totally cool. So then my business was booming and my job at the Steve Harvey show was growing. And then he said, hey, listen, I think I'm moving my show to LA. Would you consider moving to LA? And I was like, man, I'm a Chicago boy. Like, I don't know if I could do it. And then I remembered that I had been a Chicago guy my whole life. I've done all those winters. And I thought, okay, I'm getting a little older. Maybe now's the time to make the change. So I came out to LA 4 years ago, worked for the last 2 years as the creative director for the Steve Show here in LA. And then when that left and went to Atlanta last year, I got the call to come over, join the team and help head up the art department here at the Kelly Clarkson Show. And that is how it all happened.
Isn't it amazing the synchronicity, the way that one thing leads to another? When you follow your passion, I'll do it for free. There's a bunch of times in my life where I'm like, hey, I'll work on that production or I'll help you make that happen because I want to invest in your dream. You're like, I'll help you do that for free because I want to be a part of this experience. And then you look up and you're like, wow, this led to something crazy.
Totally. And I've said to a lot of people have asked me about my journey, a lot of younger people, and I said, you have to do those jobs that sometimes don't pay anything in order to get your foot in the door. Especially in this business. This business is all about people that I wouldn't have come out to LA if I didn't build this relationship and this friendship with Mr. Harvey. And so that's what really brought me out here and started opening up doors here for me. And it is about who but you've got to be willing to just do whatever. That. Sometimes you just got to take what you can take in order to meet that next person who might then say, hey, listen, by the way, I've got this other project that's coming up. I think you'd be great for it.
Yeah, people transition all the time. I think that's the other thing is you can be in a box, but especially for somebody like you who's really creative and has multiple sides of your personality, obviously, that you're expressing in different ways. Coming from a fashion background, right? You have an awareness of what things are going to look like in space, right? That helps with the design portion of what you're doing. You have an idea of some of the things that other people are going for. All of these pieces have empowered you in some other way, right? You don't lose any of those skills. You just learn how to use them in a new way.
Absolutely. You build upon them.
Yeah, and I learned how to edit for a friend of mine who literally called me up and said, I know you're writing and directing and doing stuff and you're passionate about this, but if you don't know how to edit, you're going to be limited. And he said, I have an editing bay, but I don't have anybody to use it. You want to come learn how to edit and edit my stuff for me? And I'm like, okay. And I went in and I was all about learning kind of a better way to do it on a program that I was used to. And he's like, no, this is where the business is going. So you need to learn the new one. If you're going to learn, totally changed my perception of it. And that's what I edit on all the time. And I just directed an episode of The Conners, and they sent me stuff, and I was—
That's so cool. Good for you.
Well, it's one of those things, expanding, like, expand, don't get stagnant, always keep growing, always keep looking for stuff. And that's where the excitement is in what we do, is when you go to work, it's not the same every day. And you don't know what you're going to see every time.
100%. That's really cool, though, that you've moved into that. I'm glad to hear that you've moved into that realm, because that's so cool. I'm good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah, I've been so close to the crew, and that's kind of where the genesis of this show kind of began, is realizing all the amazing things and all the amazing people and what they do, and really trying to recognize that. But it was so awesome as a director to get to collaborate in a different way and get to lead and empower the people that I knew what their skills were because of our relationship, and to watch everybody kind of jump in and really enjoy the experience. That was the best part.
I love that you're doing what you're doing, even like with this podcast. It's really bringing like the behind the scenes people to light, and and what we do, because you're right, the behind the scenes people, the crew, man. It's a lesson I learned when I did that reality show, because TV was new to me. Somebody gave me the best advice ever, and they said, make everybody behind the camera your friend. Don't make friends with the other castmates.
Contestants.
Make friends with everybody behind the scenes, because they can make your life either a pleasure or they can make it hell. The lighting team, if they like you, are going to make sure that you're taken care of from a lighting. Audio is going to take care of you when it comes to, they'll turn it off when you go to the bathroom, or they'll leave it on when you're in the bathroom. Like, these are the people who have the power, right?
Yeah.
And if you are a good guy, you portray yourself the way that who you are. If you are a good person, it'll even get edited the right way. And if you're kind of an asshole, and I'm sorry, I don't know if I can even say
you're
that.
Good. You're good.
Okay. So
we
had some people who were kind of jerk faces, right? And it's not that they were edited. I mean, they were edited exactly how they were, but they were hoping that it would get cleaned up. And, I'm sure word got back to the editors like, nope, leave it in, leave it how they are, because that's who they are. So, you know what? Take care of your crew, man. That's what I always say.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. Now, in this role for you, what is the best part? What's the part that gets you excited? Show to show, week to week?
So what I love is that it changes every show. So we tape 6 shows a week, right?
Can I jump in there? People don't realize on talk shows, your schedule's crazy, because 6 shows a week for most people, like, people don't understand. You don't just roll in and do 6 shows a week. Your world changes every day for six times a week.
Yep, absolutely. So you've got to be the whole week before, you've got to be prepping for what's happening next week while you're doing this week. So you've got to be able to multitask, and everybody has to know their position and what they do and what they're in charge of, so that everyone's got their place. And, if you've got a well-oiled machine, which I do here, I'm so blessed and so lucky to have such a great little team. And we're only a team of 5. I mean, we're a tiny little team for something that we pull off so big every day, twice a day. I'm just blessed, because we all have our part that we play and the piece that we're in charge of, and everybody does an amazing job. But what I love about it is every day there's something new and something fresh. To work on a show like this that has live music every single day, and then we have bands that come in all the time, and musicians, more so last season, but we're slowly getting back into it now this season, now that we're starting to understand how to work with COVID and how to still try to make the show as normal as possible for everybody. But just the fact that I have great bosses, I have a great team. Every day there's something new and fresh that has to be created, and we do it, we make it happen, and then we tear it down and we make something new again. And it's either for the next show in the afternoon or it's for the next day. But I love that. And it's just, every day it changes. And for someone like myself and my team, we're creative people, like the fact that we get to recreate every single day, we get to play essentially and get paid for it. And then sometimes get Emmy awards for it too. So, there's that.
It's amazing, right? Like the passion of what we get to do. If you have that passion, you don't lose it, right? Like
Right.
you
Right.
go into work, sometimes you don't get to play as much or you don't get to be as creative.
Right.
Day in and day out, we get to do something that's so unique
Yeah.
in that way. And it's magical in that way because you look at stuff and you go, I'm not sure how I'm gonna pull that off yet,
Mm-hmm.
but here's what I'm thinking, right?
Right. Exactly. Well, listen, that is every day. I think I have that. I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to figure it out.
Right. And then you're like, the show's happening.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we'll get presented like, last week we had to film a Halloween show. Well, we had to rebuild the whole set so that it had like a feel for our Halloween theme. Then we had to tear that down and reset it for a regular show in a matter of 3 hours. And they're big sets. I mean, they're like, they're walls and, they're big sets.
Yeah.
But, we did it. And again, that was that conversation the week before. It's like, oh man, I don't know how we're going to do it, how we're going to get this set built and then tear it down and then put back the regular set and do another show. But you know what? We'll figure it out and we'll do it.
Now, what's the most challenging part? What's the part that people either don't understand or that you wish people would come maybe with a little more patience and understanding?
There's nothing challenging in a bad way, but I will say that, what is happening now for us with COVID is that there are a lot of new rules and regulations in terms of like when things can be brought to the lot and when it can get used on set and when it can go on set. So, there were some things that would show up the morning of a show and, we'd bring it right onto set and we'd be ready to go and do some rehearsal and here we go. Well, now that's not a thing anymore. So now we have to like schedule things that come onto the lot a day or two before, and then it has to be quarantined or it has to be sprayed down. And that's been sort of the trickiest thing for us as a team to sort of get our heads wrapped around the fact that it can't be last minute. It's got to be even more planned out than it was before. And we can do that, but can everybody else adapt to that? So like the shops that are building it or, the delivery company that's bringing it, it's like you used to be able to look at an Amazon delivery and say, okay, it says it could be here on Tuesday for Wednesday's show, but you can't really rely on that anymore because even that's taking longer. So producers or whatever will say, well, can't we get that? It says on Amazon it'll be here by Tuesday. I'm like, yeah, but we can't count on that now. So if it doesn't, we got to have a backup plan. There's a whole nother layer that we have to sort of think about for every show. So that's been a bit of a challenge. So it's not like it's a bad thing or a mean thing. It's just, it's a new thing. It's a new thing. It's 2020.
Of the things that you've built, obviously you won an Emmy, so you had a big year last year. What are some of the highlights for you on this show?
Our Halloween show last year and our Christmas show. Our Christmas show, because what typically happens in the daytime talk show is that if they do a series of Christmas shows, they usually tape all 5 shows in a row. We didn't have that opportunity last year because our bookings were kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. So we had to like build a Christmas set, take it down, do a regular show, do another regular show, build the Christmas set, take it down, do a regular show, do a regular show, do a regular show, build the Christmas set. So we had to put it up and take it down. I think we did 6 shows last year. So six times. We broke a lot of ornaments. By the 6th show, we were like, felt like we were like taping things together just because we were like, it's come down and up so many times. It's like,
I laugh because I always think people at home, like, just imagine if you put your Christmas decorations up for your house and then had to take them all down and then put them up 2 days later and then do it again and then take them down. Like, stuff gets bent, tweaked, moved,
Yeah. Well, and Michael, I think we had last year maybe 22 Christmas trees on set.
That's crazy.
So, and they went from 4 feet high to 15 feet high. So, I mean, and no easy task. I'm just saying. And as you know, there's no room backstage. So all of this Christmas had to leave the stage and then get transported to a tent, on the other side of the lot. It was,
and then you're hoping that nothing happens in the tent.
Right, exactly.
Which no one ever talks about. Like, everything's got to come back and be at least somewhat similar to what it was, and all
Absolutely.
you got to keep the trees alive, and you got to keep everything.
You know, it's all about continuity. So, you know, you've got to make sure. So, you know, you're constantly looking at pictures all the time. I'm sure you even see your art department doing that, where they're looking at like Polaroids or whatever, and making sure like, oh crap, that phone was there last time. Let's make sure it's there. So that continuity thing has to be there, even for something like a daytime talk show, when you're talking about like a holiday set or something, you know, when we do it over and over and over again. So, you know, it's a challenge, but, you know, we rose to the occasion, and it paid off for us.
People don't understand, working on a daytime show like that, everything happens so rapidly. There's such a difference in tone of who's on the show that day and what's going on. And then with everything that's going on in the world now, there's so many more personal layers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the stories that come in that you touch on shape the tone of a show too.
Absolutely.
So trying to match all of that and make it flow, and people have no concept of every piece, every item there that you see was thought about, was planned, was you know, placed, was really specific. If you end up and you have some kitchen area, that's not just some space, that's specific to this and specific to what we're doing this time with it. The couch, the chairs, the furniture, the walls behind. I love holidays on sets because everybody has to go all out.
Yeah, they do.
And it's, you know, it's a bit of a cross between like Fantasyland and like mass chaos.
It's so true. So true. But it's such a great time. And everybody's in the spirit and the mood. So, you know, here's what happens, you know, like when you talk about like putting Christmas up, taking it up, putting it up, taking it down, all that, everybody's a little burnt out. But the minute it's all up and the lights go on, the lighting team has had their chance to like make their magic happen, and the host walks on set, and you know, the music is up and the audience is going, everything changes. And all of a sudden your whole inside, everything, your core just is like, like, oh yeah, Christmas, right?
And if you're having that passion, I feel like that's what shows through, right? Like that's what makes certain projects work too, is the passion of the people involved that then comes through the television to the audience, and people feel that energy, right? Because you can feel when people are kind of half-hearted, you know, if somebody
100%. Well, you know, there then lies the challenge for what's going on now, because nobody can have audiences.
Right.
People are starting to figure it out. You know, watching Saturday Night Live, you can see that they've got some live people in there, and they're figuring it out. But for us, we knew going into season 2 that we were going to have to do it virtually. How do you do that virtually and still get that energy for the host and for the guests and whatnot? And I have to say, it's worked out much better than I think some of us thought it would. I think, you know, we didn't know. We've never had to do this, right? Our audiences now, they're larger than life, right? Because you've got all these faces and it's all in real time. And I think what's great for us and for like our host and even our guests is that they can actually like really see people's faces now. Like they really see the person. And so when they're having that conversation, or even when they turn and say something to the audience, you really see these faces. And I think the connection is still really there, which, you know, we were concerned about, like, will you still get the clapping? Will it still feel the same? Will the laughs still feel the same? And although it's not, it's pretty close to it. And I think that at least the way that we've set it up, we've been very fortunate that it's working out really well for us. But that's been a change. I mean, so many changes.
Now, for you, from a design standpoint, are you a big items first person, or are you selective things that set a tone for you? I'm always fascinated.
Ooh, that is a really good question, because I want to answer both, but I mean, it can be both, but I would say,
or maybe it's one or the other, depending on the set or something that strikes you.
That's exactly what it is. It depends on what it is. You know, sometimes it's the small little things that make all the difference, because it's about a story that's happening. Like if we've got a human interest story and it's, you know, it's a little heavy visually, maybe it's like a small little like check that we printed out for $10,000 or something, you know, but it's impacting somebody's life in a major way. But then it's like, you know, it's a giveaway show where we design some big rollout that comes from the doors open up, and this rollout comes out and it's all these gifts and prizes. And it's like the big wow factor that, is the money shot. Like, that's where everybody's faces light up. And like, so it really just
have those moments, right? Like this is what people don't just figure from a design standpoint is you're designing the aha moment. You're designing that
absolutely
tone and presentation of that magic moment that literally a lot of times on your show is going to change somebody's life.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's a weight to that, right? And it's exciting, but there's also a weight to it. Like we have to present this, and you can't do it the same way every time.
Oh, it's got to be different, because otherwise it becomes, you're fortunate enough that you have viewers that tune in every day, right? So if you give them the same thing, it loses that sort of oomph that you want. You're still, the person that you're giving it to is still going to be excited and happy, but you want the people who are actually receiving the gift to be just as excited and happy. So you want to be able to create something new every time. That wow moment, that wow factor that, can happen with just a small little item, but then obviously something really big and major. So we're constantly having to try to rethink it. In fact, there were a couple times last season where we were starting to fall into a routine of doing the same thing because we had already done it this way and it was easy and we could just do it again. And, I remember having that conversation about like, we need to step it up. Like, this is just too easy. Like, what's the next way of doing this? Because what we were doing was just a little bit of a better version of what others were doing. So why don't we decide what the next way of doing that is and let everybody else try to copy us?
I love that. Leading a department. How do you motivate your department? How do you get them excited?
Fear. No.
That's usually in this business. There's a lot of that, but no, really.
I some people might say that's true, but wow. Well, so first of all, I think that we all do it for each other. So, and that's no BS. That's super true. We're such a great, tight little team. Some of the people that are on my team now came with me from another show. And so we're a family. Yeah. So, even if I'm being hard on somebody, they know that I'm doing it because I'm pushing them to do something better, because we are better than that. And they know that, and I know it. But we all motivate each other. We make fun of each other. And that's part of what we do as a family. We, are always ribbing on each other and making everybody step up to the plate when they're not stepping up. And I love that about us.
I laugh because people who have never been in a crew, to me, it's the description of like that super close group of friends where you can say almost anything to each other, but nobody else better say anything like that to any of your teammates, right? Like, I was a ball player too. You can say whatever you want to each other. Everyone knew it was with the idea of motivating and pushing and elevating, right. And nobody wanted anybody to put out anything but their best. And so you have that comfort zone of like being able to be playful or be sarcastic but nobody crosses a line into like mean or destructive.
Right. Comfort zone is exactly the word. That's how we are. We're so comfortable with each other that we can be honest with each other and get our point across, even when we're joking, half joking, and people just do it. Because we are such a great team and we're a family, we all know it's for everyone's best interest and best interest for the show as well. But you're right. If somebody else steps on that in that territory or crosses that line, it's like, oh no. Yeah. No, you can't say that.
No, you haven't earned that right. And we're not sure what you mean by that, right? Like here, we know what we mean to each other, right?
Right. It's like, you step out of the office, please. I don't know who you're talking to.
All right, now what inspires you?
What inspires me? I mean, that's a loaded question because it's so many different things. When I have to come up with something like a theme show or something for the show that's themey, I start to go back to like old movies, or I go to like 80s music videos. When I'm trying to be creative and come up with some sort of a design, sometimes I just walk through a Home Depot and I'm just like, I don't even know what the hell that is, but it's weird and funky. And I love that because you could do this with it, even though that's not what it is. I get inspired by like all sorts of different things. I did 1 year for the Steve show for Christmas. I had to present a Christmas idea, and I said, listen, this is going to be like way out of the norm, but I just want to kind of throw this idea at you. I was in Palm Springs, and I was at the store, and they had all these yellow and pink and orange and green colored Christmas trees. And I thought, wow, what if we did like this mid-century modern Christmas Palm Springs feel for the show, for the Christmas shows? And he was like, I mean, it sounds a little whack, but maybe. And I was like, trust me on this. And our team put together this beautiful mid-century Christmas that we did. I got a hold of a company that made these artificial colored Christmas trees, and they were like, oh my God, nobody's doing this. Thank you. How many can we send you? And I was like, send me them all. And we did this I was so proud, I still am, proud of that Christmas set, because it started off the year before, a whole year before, on New Year's week in Palm Springs, because I go to Palm Springs for New Year's Eve, and being in the store and thinking, wow, that's something you don't see. You always see traditional Christmases, and this is kind of crazy and out there. And I mean, it's Palm Springs, and who doesn't want to be in Palm Springs at that time of the year, especially if you're in the Midwest or on the East Coast when it's cold and snowy, and it was well received. And so, sometimes it just comes from like the oddest, weirdest places, I still love to flip through fashion magazines. I mean, I get so many inspirational ideas from, some of the great, beautiful advertising that's out there. So, I mean, it comes from all over the place.
There's so much creativity, and so often you use things that were never intended to be used that way.
Absolutely.
But you repurpose them, and that's where, I mean, some of the amazing talent and art really comes in, is, taking something designed for one thing, but really seeing all of the possibilities, seeing outside the box and outside the lines, and using it for something different.
Agreed.
What do you think your colleagues would say your best quality is?
The ability to make everyone laugh.
Awesome.
So even in times that are a little jacked up, I try to turn things around and try to make light of it by making people laugh. It's something I've always done. It used to get me out of fights all the time when I was in grade school, because I got picked on a lot in grade school, and the way to get the bullies on my side was to make them laugh. So, control some of the beatdowns based on whether I can make them laugh or not. So I think that that's something where, especially if I get a little nervous or things just aren't working out, I will try to turn it into something that becomes a little funny. Sometimes it's extremely inappropriate, the timing of it, but that makes it sometimes even funnier.
And that's a great message for people. I think we all face bullies at some point in time in our life, and you'll face them throughout your life.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have to learn your skill, right? Like, humans have to learn their coping mechanisms, their defense mechanisms, and then you have to try and make sure that they become healthy as opposed to becoming negative, right? So in your case, you use humor. That was your way of diffusing a lot of these situations, or making people laugh and switching it on them, right?
Yep.
And it's so funny, because that becomes a life skill that you can use in tough moments, in a work environment, in a conflict environment.
Yep, and it has. I mean, I use it all the time. Like I said, sometimes it seems like, oh, now's not the time, Kevin. But it's like, I'm like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, but sometimes that's the best, because it's authentic.
Otherwise, I'm going to cry. You know what I mean?
Yes. Sometimes the emotions don't seem to match the situation, but that's what makes it work, is because it's authentic, right? Because you're like, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to diffuse this, or this is how I'm going to release the tension. Humor is a great way to release tension, especially in a workplace.
I agree.
To also kind of cue in on where people are at, and feel out how people are doing, and know when the time is to come and kind of talk to them, head off that the tension or the chaos. And I think you get good at that the more time you spend with people.
I'm working on that. I'm a work in progress on that.
Okay.
I tend to, sometimes I can't read the room as well as I think I can. And so, I have to sometimes check myself and be like, ooh, I'm going to come back to this in a little bit. This seems like the wrong time right now.
Kevin, what's your passion outside of work?
So I found a new passion now that I'm out here out on the West Coast, and it's this hiking. I mean, it's not something we have in Chicago, so at least not in the city of Chicago. So out here, I found hiking is like my thing. And so I have a group of friends that every Sunday we try to find a new place to go. We'll drive all the way down by Orange County and go hiking down there. We'll drive all the way up past Malibu. We'll go east towards the desert. I'm trying to find something new and fun and creative, and trying not to do the same one every Sunday.
Yeah.
It's given me the opportunity to see so much more of LA. My first couple of years of living here, I was working so much that I didn't have a chance to really explore and get a taste of what LA really was all about. And so now I'm finally doing that. And that's, I love that. I love that part. I didn't expect that to be a thing. I never really saw myself as an outdoorsy kind of guy, but you know, I found some cute outfits, and I found some great trails, and I got my water bottle and I'm ready to go.
I love hiking, and I'm the guy who, like, I'll take people who don't normally go hiking, and then I try to, like, make sure I don't overdo it. I just like to explore. I think there's something about not knowing what you're going to find, and
Yeah.
exploring new areas. And in California in particular, it kind of lends itself to just kind of going and exploring and trying a new trail and finding a new place.
It's so cool. It's so cool to have that. I mean, one of the great, well, there are many great things about living out here in California, but I love the fact that you go one way and it could get a little cold and snowy. You go the other way and it's all desert and hot. You go more west and you're hitting all the water and the beaches. And I mean, it's so good. In Chicago, we go one way and it's cold. So, I like that there's all these other opportunities.
Do you feel that you try to bring things from different areas into certain elements of the show from time to time? Do you feel that you know a guest is from an area, or there's a background here, and then you try to add that dynamic to the set?
If you can, I would. There have been times over the last few years for both shows that I've worked on where we've had the opportunity to sort of tailor make it in a way that makes them feel like there's a slice of where they're from. We do a lot of like cooking segments and some DIY stuff on the show. And so, for instance, Nick Jonas was on last season, and we brought on a chef who's an Indian chef to teach him how to make Indian food for his new wife.
Perfect.
And so that made sense. When we have somebody from Chicago, we may fly in some pizzas and like do something that has to do with either Garrett's popcorn or deep dish pizza, just to like throw that out there. So we'll try to tailor make it. We don't want to make it corny or hokey, but if it works with the script and with what we're talking about, it's actually a great fun thing to do because it makes a connection, and it helps them to really fall more in love with us and be like, I want to come back. I want to come back to that show because they took really good care of me last time. It's funny. That just made me think of another thing. When I first got out here, I went to a couple different shows. I had friends who were working on different shows. And one of the things that I noticed were like green rooms were not really great. And like the celebrity green rooms were kind of, I don't know, they weren't that great.
No.
Exactly.
And you're like,
I thought, well, man, wouldn't it be cool if we gave them a completely different experience here on the show? And so we went all out, and I got to tell you, I am so proud of the fact that when people are in our green rooms, they comment all the time. I'm like, wow, these are great green rooms. I mean, I went out and got like Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong arcade machines, loaded up with great furniture and artwork, and like we really went all out. I'm really proud of our green rooms. If you're ever on the lot here, find me. I'm gonna give you a tour of the green rooms.
How have I missed this experience? When am I getting invited? Because I will tell you, that's an example. That's an attention to detail thing, but it's pride in what you do.
Well, and it sets a tone though, too.
Yes.
I think
Yes,
if
100%.
if you're coming on, and let's just say you're having a shitty day, but you've got to go plug some movie, but we just plopped you down in this really cool room and you're chilling for a little bit, it could change you completely.
Now you're in a better place when you go out on that stage to have that conversation, and it makes a huge
100%.
difference.
It sets, listen, our whole thing here is about having fun. Kelly said right in the beginning when we all joined the team, she said, you know what, I don't want any jerks working here. This environment needs to be fun, collaborative, and friendly, and it needs to start from the top and work its way all the way down. Everybody's got to be on the same page. And I feel like that's one of those things. We want to make sure that whoever walks into this building has a top-notch experience from the beginning to the end. Portraits that we take backstage that are kind of fun and quirky. They're Olin Mills style, and people really love doing them because they're just different and crazy and fun. We weren't really even sure people would be like lining up to do it, because everyone's busy and they've got to get from A to B and do this in the middle. But people wait and they do the portraits, and they love the rooms and they love the gift bags. And then here's the best part. They come out and have an amazing time on set with Kelly. We love that. We want to make sure that experience from beginning to end is amazing. And my team has a role in that. And we take pride in that, 100%.
Setting a tone from the top to the bottom, in the productions that I'm trying to get off the ground, that's something we talk about all the time is, setting a tone and making sure people feel valued the whole way, and that we set the tone for what it's supposed to be. Because if you love where you work and people come with the right attitude, you're going to get their best work and you're going to get the best moments. What is the first thing you want to see on a call sheet?
Breakfast. The first thing I look for on a call sheet, because what's important to me, is the director's meeting.
Okay.
That to me is super important because, in our world, things change a lot. And I know by the time we get to the director's meeting, if there's anything that's changed, he will know about it. Even though I should know about it, sometimes it doesn't work that well or way. And so I know that if we're sitting in the director's meeting and we're going over everything and it's matching up with everything I have, it's just one sort of like, that's my opportunity of saying, okay, check, that's good. That show is good to go. Let's go ahead and focus on the next show. Whereas if I sit there, and it happens sometimes, and I'm hearing things for the first time, now I've got to go figure that all out. Like, what is this?
Wait a minute.
Motorcycle jacket comes from where, and who's wearing it? Can they wear it? Is it their size? All those things that people are like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, well, yeah.
You could be important.
That to me is the opportunity for 15 to 20 minutes for him to review everything. And I know that we're good to go and we can move on to other things. So that's important for me because I have to have conversations with all the stagehands and make sure that they understand the dance. There's a dance that we do every day in terms of, okay, at this moment, these doors have to open and then they have to close and then this has to come out. And then, oh gosh, by the way, we're going to drop this from the ceiling and it's going to land right here and it's got to stop at this mark. And then it's got to fly up and get out of the way right after this happens. And then, oh, great. So this guest is coming out, but we're also going to surprise them with this thing from over on this side and it's coming from that side of the stage. And so once I have clearance from the director of everything is what it's supposed to be, then I can go and kind of make sure everybody else knows their piece of the dance so that I can move on and get the next party started.
On the flip side, what is the last thing you want to see on a call sheet?
What is the last thing I want to see on a call sheet? Anytime we have to make up something for another show. So
yes. Right?
Yes.
Preach, because I'm with you on that. Anytime you got to go back in time, go forward in time, make up something, fix that. We have to do this segment that has to fit in.
Yes.
Yeah. And everybody has the same reaction. It's like,
it's so like true. It's so true.
This, and then everybody does the what do I have to see?
And people at home don't know that that's a thing because they never see that, of course. Sometimes you have to recreate a moment that, you may not have everything. What do you mean that didn't work out? We threw that away.
Right.
Okay. Well, we'll pull something together, you're scrambling.
Yeah. People don't understand because all of a sudden you go, I got to go back in time to that moment. And you're like, what do you mean the video, the audio, the whatever it was, or
yes.
that didn't read or that didn't pass approval. Right. And you're like, so we have to redo that moment. They're coming in an hour.
Yep.
Do you have all the stuff that you used? And you're like, no, we moved on. That's 5 shows ago by now.
Exactly. We moved on. Oh gosh. Okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do.
I totally get that one. People in the business will get that. Now the audience who watches this will totally understand. What is your favorite thing to see at craft services?
Okay.
I know, and you're a foodie, so I can't wait for the answer. Like, I'm like,
this, I don't know, this might throw you off.
okay.
So we used to have, craft services has changed now a bit. So it's all a little wonk, but let's go back to a happier time.
Right.
When craft services was all over the place. So they would make these apple slices that would have peanut butter and raisin in the middle between two slices of apple.
I know what you're talking about.
That and the maple bacon.
Yeah, I know. And again, some of it just looks so simple. The apple slices thing looks like nothing, and it looks kind of like sometimes it looks like a mess, and then you eat it and you're like,
it's a mess.
It's like an explosion, right? And
it's delicious.
Yeah, and you're just happy.
The maple bacon thing, I didn't even know that was a thing, and everybody was lining up for like the maple bacon, and I was like, what is maple bacon? I'm from Chicago, man. We just eat our bacon.
Right.
Bacon. And then I was like, oh, this is not something I can have every day. This is a little over the top. It's like brown sugar and maple syrup baked into the bacon, and it is a delicious moment. But like that it
can't be a regular thing.
No way.
Here's the flip side of it, though. What do you hate to see at craft services?
Red vines. I'm a Twizzlers guy.
Okay.
I like Twizzlers. Everybody out here is red vines. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I mean, listen,
So you want so a thank you from Michael. I should send you a really big box of red vines.
No red vines. No red vines. Gosh. Twizzlers, man. I keep saying I'm gonna get Twizzlers and bring them one day for everyone to try, because so many people, they're true LA Californians out here, and they stick to those red vines. They will not budge. But I'm telling you, I'm gonna switch them one day,
right?
And no one's gonna know. After this COVID thing goes away, I won't do it ahead of time because that won't be protocol. But right. I'm gonna do it, and everyone's gonna be like, why do these taste so different and so good?
Kevin, how do you define success?
That's a tough one. I'll tell you where I went initially, where my head went when you asked that. And I don't know if people take it the wrong way. Through happiness. So right. I don't think it has to be about money, or it has to be about position. I think you're successful when you're happy. And sometimes that could be hanging out with your best friend, talking about old times. That could be that moment when you're FaceTiming with your mom and dad, and you're reconnecting about something that's happening to them right now at home. It could be, that moment here at work when everything clicks and we have a great day. I think success is when you're happy. And I think that it comes in so many different packages, big and small. And the reason why I hesitated is because when they hear the word success, they think financially. They think in terms of where they are in their career. Are they the head honcho, or are they the best actor, or whatever? And I think success is something you have to feel inside, and you have to find it yourself. It's not something somebody can give you. People, I think, look for it. I think they expect somebody to help them become successful in whatever way. I think you're successful, the most successful, when you're happy, and whatever it is that makes you happy. And I think for me, it's all kinds of different moments all throughout the day.
Yeah, I'm a dad, and I've always told people, but when I try to mentor people coming into this business, how do you go about this? How do you stay up? Because this business is a bit of a roller coaster, and you can be working on a show and it can get canceled, and things change rapidly, and there's stuff that happens behind the scenes that no one ever knows, but they can be chaotic, and some of them are beautifully chaotic and some of them are tough. I've always said that if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it. And yes. The thing is, you define the it, but you have to be able to look at it really and say, if you're doing it for everybody else's approval, if you're doing it for the award or for all that, You'll get it maybe,
but
you won't be there.
You'll be successful. You're nailing it, by the way. You'll be successful in a way, but
Right.
but what is that? What is the price of that success? And that's why I feel like for me, it's the happy part. It's just being content and happy is what is successful, because not everybody, but most people, there's, especially out here in this business, they're striving for that success. And for me, even for somebody who was at one point a little bit in front of the camera, I have found my happy place is right back here where I'm at, sort of working behind the scenes and doing all of this stuff. That's what makes me happy. That's success for me.
I love performing. I love it. But success to me in front of the camera it's the moment where you take someone's breath away.
Yeah.
It's the moment where people can't describe to you how they feel. It's doing a scene so good that you almost can't remember what you just did because you were just so involved with the other person. On the technical side, being behind the camera, it's fixing that chaotic moment and making it look smooth. It's the beauty of collaborating a bunch of people together. When I'm in a leadership role, we make something beautiful come together, and no one has any idea that we just had to string together a million things and this scheduling problem happened and that thing over there didn't work exactly the way it was planned, but it worked enough for us to show the world what we needed.
Yeah.
I used to laugh, the most successful of my moments sometimes was the moment I came home and my kids met me at the door, because it meant I did something right both before I left and throughout the day to make sure they knew they mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And I had connected in that way when I walked in. Success is such a unique thing for each individual, but I believe if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it.
I love those words. That's strong, man. That's powerful.
Okay, now I always ask people, based on your definition, how are you measuring up to your definition of success?
Well, because it is about being happy, I'm doing pretty good, because what I've learned in the last couple of years, well, really since I came out here, and it goes back to the whole hiking on Sundays, is finding that time to do things that bring sort of happiness to me.
I love that.
Health and happiness. I've never been that person. I have, I left the fashion world because I was burnt out. I had done it all. I had traveled. I couldn't hold on to a relationship because I wasn't home long enough. I was just about making that money, that coin, traveling, and just.
And can I say, other people were probably looking at you saying, "Oh, he's got everything.
He's got it all."
Right?
And I did. I felt like I had nothing.
Right, and I want people to hear that, because I want people. It's so honest, Kevin. It means so much, because if nothing else, from each one of these shows, we get to experience somebody else's perception of the world. And I think that's such a valuable thing, because in our business, it's really easy for people to fall into, well, they're successful for whatever monetary appearance reason. And man, it's so deep and so brilliant. I'm so happy for you that you're experiencing this joy.
And it's thank you. I appreciate that. And I didn't expect it. I actually thought I was going to come out here and continue to just be that person who's driving to like work. And I finally was like, wait a minute, I've got all of this beauty around me. And it took like the first 2 years, I was like, wait, I got to stop, slow down, and really start to enjoy this. This COVID thing has sort of put, a bit of a kibosh on certain things, but the hiking thing has been great for me during this COVID, because I'm able to drive off somewhere where there's really nobody else. And we go in our little group and go hiking and really enjoy the nature. And it's just things I just didn't do before. I'm so glad that I did. So that would be my answer to that.
It was such a strong answer. I hope people really take that to heart, because it should resonate with people. It certainly resonates with me. All right. Now, what's the one thing that you want on every set?
Does it have to be a physical thing?
Oh no! See, I leave them open-ended on purpose. I thought long and hard about these questions. I try to leave them so that the individual can create the space that they want.
What I want on every set is pride. And I mean that in so many different ways. I want everyone to be proud of who they are, proud of what they do, proud of the work that they're doing and delivering. I think that pride is something that some people just come in and they punch in, they do their job, they punch out, and they leave. I love it when I see our cameramen are like really into it, and will even sometimes make some suggestions like to our director, like, hey, what if we do this and come in this way? You know, I love it when our lighting director is, you know, saying, hey, let's do this different. Like that's taking pride in your job. I love that. I love, you know, when people on my own team are doing something that is changing it up a little bit because they're proud of what they do. Like, but then, like you said, it's even bigger than that. It's like pride of who these people are. I'm proud of the fact that I'm this person and that person, and, you know, pride. That's what I want to say.
I love that answer. And again, it's not something I've heard. This audience will hear this for the first time, but pride to me, it means so much. Like, especially when I'm in a leadership role, when I'm directing or producing, I don't care where the best idea comes from. So I love when a cameraman turns to me as a director and says, oh, that, you know, I want you to do the things that I'm kind of guiding for and be professional in that way. But I want you, if you see something amazing,
right,
that's going to make this project better. Let's take pride in what you're doing. Let's use your
100%.
skill, use your gift. When everybody takes pride. And
I love it. And I'm glad that you understand what I'm talking about, because it makes everybody successful. Like everybody wins.
Yeah. And
there's pride. And
you get the magic moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can feel it when people don't have pride in what they're doing. You see it, you feel it, and, you know, and then there lies the journey of how do you get them back to being proud of what they're doing? Like, is that a journey you can help them get back to, you know?
Now I'm going to ask you again, on the flip side, what is the one thing that you would eliminate from a set? I like it. See, when you laugh, I just want to know the answer. I want you to just blurt it out.
I'm gonna say, PR people.
Well, when you do an interview show, I used to work on a talk show, and I did segments. I love PR people. I have some great friends who are in PR. But when you work on a set like you do, man, they can change things in a hurry and make things very difficult.
Yep. And they're always standing there. They're off to the side, and they're just judging. Just judging. It's their job, but yeah. But that's what they're doing. They're judging, and they're making sure that everything is all the notes are being hit upon, that they're saying the right thing, that we're doing this, that's being shown. And you're like, oh, gosh, okay, already.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fine, but I you know, if I had my way. And right now with COVID, there's only a certain number of people who are allowed to be on set, as you know.
Right.
So they're not allowed.
and that changes things a little bit. And that's one of those things, because they come from the outside with a really specific targeted point of view or perspective, they definitely can take on a much different tone. Okay, what's the best gift you've ever gotten from a project?
Well, for me, so I used to do surprise home makeovers, and we'd always do it for a deserving family. Every one of them were different stories, but they were all deserving in their own way. And the best part of that is the thank you, is not even the thank you, it's the joy that you see in their face when they walk in for the first time and they see everything that you've given them, because it gives them some sort of validation that somebody cared enough to do this.
They're seen, they're valued, what matters to them. Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. That to me is the best gift, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that. That's a feeling that.
If I could do a home makeover show, Kevin, if we could do a home makeover show together, I would love to do that week in and week out.
I mean, it brings you to tears. I mean, you know, I don't normally consider myself to be a guy with a lot of feelings, but I'll tell you that gets me every time, because It's so genuine. You know, for me, we get into it. The team gets together. We decide we're going to do this and get this and order this and get this delivered. And now we've got 3 nights to get in there and put this all together. And you're just go, 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 go. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap. Okay. Now they're coming. They're coming here. Okay. And you sort of step to the side and you do sort of that presentation, like, you know, welcome home, you know, and immediately you just see on their faces, like, you know, you've changed their lives sometimes, even though you're thinking, well, gosh, it's just like a new living room and a Christmas tree and some gifts under the tree, but it's something they didn't have before and they weren't gonna have. So yeah. I love that feeling.
I'm such a giver. I'm a quintessential, like, small things, details, things that matter, because there was a really brief period of my life where I was homeless.
Really?
Twice. And I think what it did is it left a lasting impression for me of what home means.
Yeah.
And for me, home is the little thing that you count on or that makes your day, brings you happiness, like you mentioned before. Home is also the person,
sure.
You know, that the person you want to hold hands with at the end of the day, the hug that you want to get, the picture of a family member who maybe isn't here anymore that sits in a specific place because it brings resonance and memories to you. Like, there's all these little things that I think you capture those moments when you're doing something like that. And I think that's the real beauty, is it means you really saw that person, you really listened, and you made it home for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
Awesome.
And I'll tell you, if you ever get a chance to work on a show like that, do it, man. Jump on that opportunity.
Oh, that's on my list. I have 2 projects that I'm trying really hard to get going, because for me.
Call me.
Oh yeah, you in? All right, Kevin. You remember, I'm going to call you and perfect.
Listen, I've done a lot of them.
Okay, well.
I know how to do it.
Synchronicity, you know, I was given your name, you came to me, we come to do this interview. Now we may know an extra reason why. So I love it.
There's always a reason.
Yep. How do you want the people that you work with to remember you?
As being a loyal leader. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Loyalty has always been a big thing for me, like with my friends, and definitely with my coworkers. And as a leader, I take pride in the fact that I stand up for my team no matter what. That is my team. You come at me, don't ever come at them. You deal with me. And I will go to bat 100%. I will sit in meetings and say no to something if it's going to put my team in a situation that's not good for them. If it's going to overwork them or make them crazy, I will stand up and say, this is crazy and I'm not putting these guys through it. I know that they would say that that's what I do and who I am. That's very important to me. And I've worked for so many people who were not loyal. Who would throw their team under the bus in order to save themselves and make themselves look good. I would take the fall for anyone on my team before I ever let them take the fall.
I think that's so beautiful. Loyalty is such it's a life thing for me. And I've been, in this business, I've gotten to be the actor, but I've also been the director. I'm never going to sell anybody out. I've had to go to a producer and say, we need one more take. And I know it's because maybe the focus wasn't sharp, or maybe a cameraman missed an assignment, or somebody missed a moment technically. Mm-hmm. No, that's mine. I need another one. I'll own it, right? Nobody needs to know what the reason is. That's my job, to take loyalty and leadership in that role. I've coached kids for almost 20 years. I was a high school baseball coach for almost a decade, and I never sold out my players. And when they made mistakes, I always believed I'd listen to other coaches, and the minute somebody make a mistake, they'd go, oh, we worked on that at practice, right? To me, that was them going, don't look at me. It's not my fault. I taught them how to do it right. Like, no, be loyal and own that moment and actually show real leadership and stand there and be like, okay, let's get the next one, right? Like, okay, what are we going to do about it?
Right.
Mistakes are going to happen. Challenges are going to come. We're human beings. So there's this moment where you're never going to go all out for somebody that sells you out at the first moment. And
right.
That's, for me, that's what family means too, is loyalty. Is like, if you work on my team, I worked in a prop department, and I helped hire people, and I worked set design, and I've built a lot of sets too. And I ran the motleyest crew of guys. Every guy in my crew at one point for like 4 years, everybody had at least one felony. I had all guys who had been in gangs and been part of organized crime at some point in their past, and were trying to make a transition to a different life. And we would walk in and people were like, who's your group? And I'm like, you don't understand. Every one of those people is loyal.
Yep.
They're loyal. They will do their job. They will show up. They will make it happen. And if it's possible, we'll get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And they will never let me down, because I will never let them down.
Right. 100%.
And I just told somebody the other day, I worked a job where somebody asked me to change my group. And I said, well, I really enjoyed working here, because that's not who I am.
No, right.
And loyal, Kevin, loyal is like in the list of words, in the pantheon of like great things that you're going to build on in this life. Man, for your team to know that about you, you've given them the greatest gift.
I hope so.
What is the legacy that you want your loved ones to take from your life?
I would want everyone to say, man, he did it his way. He did not go by any book, any instructions. He found the path his way. Because I've done so many different things, and we in the beginning we started talking about like all these different roads, that you've taken, that I've taken. I've taken so many different roads, but I've always landed in a really cool spot. And I mean, I've waited tables and bartended. I've worked in landscaping, but I've also been a corporate person, and now I'm a TV person. Like, I've done all of these different things, and it followed absolutely no rules. And I think I'd be happy if people were like, man, he did his own fucking thing, man. He just figured it out on his own and just did it. I left college before I graduated because I started to see these opportunities come my way. And I was like, I'm jumping onto them. I'm taking this train. I'm going, man. I'm going to start doing this because I don't know if this opportunity is going to be here in a year from now when I get done with school. And I never looked back.
I'm such an education person. I have one kid in college and one headed to college. So it's so.
I believe that that blows my mind.
Well, I got married really early and had kids really early, but at the great risk of warping my kids, because I've always been like, try to get an education. There's something to be said for knowing what you want and just following your course. Yeah. And I'm a huge proponent of education, but you kind of have to know where your education's getting you and what you want. And I think that education doesn't stop. It's not 4 walls in a building. Education is every day if we're doing
every day. Yes.
And I love that. You did it your way, right?
For me, listen, school was just never my thing. Like, I struggled so hard. I'm sure now if I got tested, I would have a bunch of different learning disabilities that weren't even around back then. I'm sure I got them all. But it just, I really struggled to get my A's and my B's and my C's. Like, I really did. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to the school of life. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to take every course that comes my way, and I'm going to ace it.
Love it. All those things that I think sometimes we label people now, those are the same skills that you're using to ace life, right? Like, I joke with people, my ADD makes me really good at certain aspects of what we do.
Absolutely.
Right? Like my OCD, when it comes to certain things, I'm like, those aren't matching and those don't work. And we're going to set this up and that scene doesn't fit right. We're going to make a small adjustment. Or like those shots don't match up. I know we did them before. Go back and check it because our angle's just a little off and people look at me like, come on, man. And then they come back and they're like, yeah, we were just a little off.
Totally.
And I think all of those things are a gift, right? I think sometimes with kids now, we push some of that out of them, where it's like, no, you have to figure out who you are and find out how that informs your world and how you use it to maximize your growth and potential, like ace life.
Listen, there's a lot to be said about the life lessons that you learn out on the street.
Yeah.
You know, some things just cannot be taught in a book.
No, a lot of things. And I dare to say that sometimes we evaluate people based on what a piece of paper says.
Mm-hmm.
And in my experience, I've worked with all types, and I've worked with people who've gone to the greatest schools. And then I've worked my way through a lot of stuff. You know, I wanted to go to some of those schools and I qualified to get in, but I had other things going on in my life and that my path was different. And I think I'm better for it in some ways because I've had to find another way, right? Nobody just showed me an easy path or gave it to me. I had to really battle, and battling is good for you.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
This has been so amazing, Kevin. I'm so happy that you came on Fish's Call Sheet. Thank you for sharing your multitude of experience, your incredible wisdom. I hope people take from this having pride in what they do. And
listen, thank you. This is great what you're doing. You're really shining a light on the behind the scenes stuff. And I love that you're doing this. I was so excited when I heard this was even a possibility that we were going to do this. And so I'm just blessed that we were able to make this happen today. I so thoroughly enjoyed myself. So thank you.
Oh yeah. And I'm going to pick on you in the future. I'm going to stay in contact. And if I can launch those shows, I have a kindred spirit who wants to make people's day. I love that.
Give me a call.
All right. Thanks for coming on Fish's Call Sheet.
Thank you.
If you liked what you saw, or maybe you want to know more about the entertainment industry, check out some of our other episodes where we dive into other departments as I celebrate all the amazing people who make production possible. If you'd like to be updated on Fish's Call Sheet, go ahead and subscribe or hit the bell below so you know right when we update new information.